those who cause mischief in the lands, which is what Lee Rigby's killer, when he killed Lee Rigby, he held up 55 verses from the Quran, he gave them to a woman, yeah? And he said, these are the verses that forced me to do it. Now those verses spoke about causing mischief. Now he said that Lee Rigby caused mischief. Do you think I hate you?
No, I don't think you hate me. I just think you're misinformed.
Okay.
And you have misinterpreted, well, not misinterpreted.
How often do we pledge allegiance to things we don't fully understand? It happens a lot of times in business, in relationships, and especially in religion. Many of us pledge a blind faith on what we think are the dictates of true religion, but the moment a Muslim student came in contact with Tommy Robinson, she realized how shaky her foundation really has been all these years.
The first thing that we're taught from the mosques as well is that everyone has different interpretations of the Quran, and that any translation to any language will never be literal, because it can never be translated from one language to another. That's how language works. So
does that mean there's no true interpretation? Not
exactly,
one?
there is no true interpretation.
Before we even touch the heavy parts of the argument, it helps to understand who is walking into this conversation and how they think. On one side, there is an insistence on going straight to the classical sources, the tafsir, the verses that influence centuries of Islamic law. And on the other side, there's a focus on intention, and the idea that every believer carries their own lens and their own translation. Two completely different worlds meeting in one argument.
Says,
but that's what I'm saying,
men own
not
women.
Everything is a literal translation. It's depending on interpretation. Just how when he researched something up, it didn't say exactly what I've got here. They're written in different ways, and every single language, it's
What's 532?
532?
Yeah.
And this matters because in our time, the line between peaceful believers and political ideologies keeps getting blurred. It matters because when violence happens in the name of faith, the world argues over whether the cause was a scripture or a society. And it matters because if we cannot agree on whether a text has an anchor, a center, a stable meaning, then how do we ever hold anyone accountable for the ideas they pull out of it?
Who would not report. Yeah? That, imagine what that's... And in fact, it should be like it for yourself, because even in your...
And that is an issue, and that is something that we need working on.
But
and
then-
it's
but then-
similar.
but
It's
then-
similar
then-
to rape culture.
Then
where,
if you take verses from this book,
yeah,
it says that you cannot side with the non-Muslim over the Muslim, yeah? There's certain verses in here which I try and make sense of all of it.
I understand why some people lean toward that softer approach. It feels safer, more humane. But I can't shake the feeling that a book meant to guide billions cannot survive without some stable ground under it.
when we're taught in Islam, there are different types of Muslims. Everything is based on your intention. That's the fundamental rule of Islam. It's called a niyat. So
Say what? So I just stood up and I'm getting in an argument with some young lads, and I said to them, okay, they said it doesn't say in the Quran to beat your wife, yeah? And I said, but I've read it does. Yeah? So
yeah, so when
you've got the Quran there. Can we have a look at it?
If they can do it to me, they can do it to animals.
Sorry.
So we have to say
Sorry?
more.
See Ibn Kathir.
They live on the gravy
Yeah.
train.
The mention of Ibn Kathir carries such weight. He is one medieval scholar that many have tried using to dictate modern life, but of course he represents something much more than that, the mainstream heritage of interpretation in Sunni Islam.
I'll tell you something now about him, yeah, with what he says. Okay?
See, this is the new book I've got.
Okay,
I'm
so
I'm still learning.
Okay, so Ibn Kathir is one of the most recognised, as you'll agree, one of the most renowned Saudi scholars, yeah?
I can't comment on that. I don't know anything about.
Okay. Well, what he says that the word mischief, yeah? His interpretation of what mischief means is not believing in Allah. Yeah? Now, if you take that...
That's his interpretation.
Okay, so, but he's very recognised, yeah? So if he believes mischief means not believing in Allah, yeah? Then those who...
Ibn Kathir's works didn't survive centuries by accident. They are printed, sold, studied, and taught across the world, not in underground cells, but in ordinary bookshops, community mosques, and university syllabuses.
Which is what Lee Rigby's killer, when he killed Lee Rigby, he held up 55 verses from the Quran, he gave them to a woman, yeah? And he said, these are the verses that forced me to do it. Now those verses spoke about causing mischief. Now he said that Lee Rigby caused mischief in Muslim lands, yeah? Which I'd agree, like any British army going into a Muslim country, I'm against the British army going into those countries. But according to him, yeah, being a non-Muslim means you can be killed. That's what mischief means. And that's his. I know you talk about interpretation, but the actual person you've got there, that's what he says.
See, but that's what I'm saying. That's his interpretation. No, that is his
he's one of the most recognised followed, Ibn Kathir.
But just like that, you're one of the most recognised British
Yeah.
nationals.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that something that you will interpret within
right.
the fundamentals of fundamentalism
But
of Britishness.
if what he says wasn't right, yeah, or
Yeah.
Muslims had a problem with it, you wouldn't have it here, be buying it. It wouldn't be for sale in all the Muslim bookshops across this country. Mosques wouldn't be promoting it, which they are. Yeah. His interpretation of mischief
Yeah.
is being non-Muslim, which means, as a non-Muslim, you can be
Yeah.
killed. That's what
Right.
it means. Can we go back to that verse?
Before we circle back to what she said about that topic that got everyone around screaming, let's look at her idea of male dominance.
Just so we can see, because that's what.
See, and obviously the way that you've read it,
Yeah.
it's translated differently.
So let me
to
read
this.
it.
Yeah.
Men are in charge of women because Allah has made one of them excel the other. So men are better than women. Men are in charge of women because they spend on their property. So good women.
For the support of women.
So good women are obedient, guarding in secret with which Allah is God. As for those for whom you fear rebellion, so women who are not doing as they're told,
Rebellion doesn't mean not doing.
okay, admonish them and banish them to beds apart and scourge them. What does scourge them mean in your interpretation?
You see, the discussion about marital conflict and separation is delicate and often uncomfortable. I know many modern Muslims reject any violent connotation, offering symbolic or emotional readings instead.
Scourge, that's what I mean. Interpretation. Scourge can be don't treat them as well, as in don't give them the goodness, don't give them anything to benefit from. But that's my interpretation. Someone else.
Say if I show you now, there's video. Say for example, do you know Abdul Rahim Green? Do you know a charity called IRA?
Aaron, no, I don't.
A big Islamic charity.
Okay.
He's on video, many of them are. And the argument they have is that when they're talking about beating your wife,
Yeah.
they say it's with a miswak. They say it's with a
Miswak,
miswak. 'Cause
okay.
Then you go to the hadith where it says with a miswak. But what I'm saying is when I'm talking to Muslims, say, well, it says you can beat your wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can go online now and Google many
Yeah,
Qurans.
that's what.
You've got
when I'm
pictorial.
learning it myself, people
Yeah.
have different interpretations.
Let me show you first. So I asked, does it say in the Quran if you kill one man, you kill all of humanity?
Yeah.
Does it? Go to 532. Is that where it says it?
532. I can't say where it is. Surah Al-Baqarah.
I'll show you now.
Surah Al-Fatiha.
The same thing happens with the phrase mischief in the land. People quote the verse about saving a life as though it stands alone, but the very next line speaks of severe punishments for those who commit corruption. And again, classical tafsir often identifies disbelief as one form of that corruption. Maybe that feels outdated. Maybe it needs reinterpretation. But pretending the classical sources never said it only clouds the discussion. I don't think anyone wins when we pretend the texts say nothing difficult.
Do you think I hate you?
No, I don't think you hate me. I just think you're misinformed.
Okay.
And you have misinterpretation. Well, not misinterpretation, different interpretations of the Quran, just as so many do.
Well, did you live in
Just like I have a different interpretation of the Bible, which is why I don't believe in the Bible.
Can I just show you what the meaning of scourge is? Yeah? Whip used as an instrument of punishment.
Scourge. That's when the definition of the word. You can understand why this.
But then it can also be causing suffering. Suffering can be, doesn't have to be physical, it can be.
And I suppose the hardest part is when we think about extremists. Not in a way that associates ordinary Muslims with them, but in a way that shows even the extremists themselves insist they are following the classical text. They don't write their own verses.
If they weren't going to be obedient.
Basically, what that verse says.
But
is
that's what I'm saying.
Men own
Not
women.
everything is a literal translation. It's depending on interpretation. Just how when he researched something up, it didn't say exactly what I've got here. They're written in different ways, and every single language, it's
What's
an old
What's
traditional
532?
532.
Because we hear regularly quoted.
532. For
For
that cause we decree
discreed
for
of
the
the
children
children.
of Israel,
Whoever
that
kills a
whoever
human
being, for other than murder or corruption in the earth, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. Who saves the life of one, it shall be as our messengers came unto the world with clear
It proves of Allah. So what's five? So you read that, yeah, and that sounds
Yeah.
great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Right? Now read 5:30. Now read the next verse. The only reward for those who make war upon Allah and His Messenger and strive after corruption in the land. So corruption is mischief. Yeah. Now this man here.
Yeah.
Right. Keep reading. So corruption is mischief. Will be that they will be killed and crucified, or have their hands and feet, alternative sides, cut off, or they will be expelled out of the land. Yeah.
You see, this is why interpretation cannot be treated like a mood or a personal preference. Lives have been taken with verses held in the air. People have claimed divine permission for their violence.
If you kill one man, you kill all of humanity, unless they cause mischief, and then you can kill them, murder them, butcher them, expel them. And actually, this book, which is just insane that you're holding it, it's actually him who gives you, and I can show you that now, him that gives you the interpretation of what mischief and corruption is. And he specifically says mischief and corruption means not believing in Allah. I don't believe in Allah. So am I causing mischief? So according to that there, I can be killed. Now you're not taking that, yeah? That's great, yeah? You're not taking, and in fact, majority of Muslims are not taking that. But Lee Rigby's killer did, yeah? He specifically told us why he done it, yeah?
Yeah.
Same as Salman Abedi, same as all these people. Now, actually, not just one or two, we're talking about hundreds and thousands.
Listening to the student's position, you can feel the sincerity in it. And her first point rests entirely on that. Interpretation is always subjective. Translation will always shift meaning. No scripture, she believes, can ever be captured perfectly in another language. And part of me understands this.
Have gone out and fought for ISIS.
Yeah.
They're taking a different interpretation of that. So am I wrong to read this? And I'll research all of it. I've read that. I've read Ibn Ishaq's biography of Muhammad.
Yeah.
I've sat and read and studied all of it. And I'm coming to the conclusion that, hold on, even if you don't take it like that, yeah, there's still a massive problem here. A massive problem that we need to stop. From my point of view, I'm looking at it thinking this is scary. Yeah, we've got books that are telling people to kill people. I'll show you now. Yeah, Ibn Ishaq, because.
Could I just button? You know how you're saying mischief? Here it says
Corruption.
make war upon Allah after corruption.
Corruption. So look,
after corruption in the land.
Yeah, and it is. So basically.
But then again.
We often find ourselves wondering whether this softness, beautiful as it is, ends up dissolving the very authority she's trying to protect.
And corruption, it's still, again, it's not. There is nothing literally saying this is corruption, this is war.
Yeah, can you come around here? Is that right?
Sorry.
I'll show you now. Look. The meaning of mischief. Yeah. The meaning of mischief. Now, if we go to this, this is his tasfir.
Yeah.
And he is the one the most recognised, which is probably why you're reading it. One of the most recognised across the world. Yeah. Now, in his tasfir, the meaning of mischief. When it says then, do not make mischief on the earth, they say we are angels for their earth. Do not make mischief on the earth. Disbelief acts in disobedience. Disbelief. I disbelieve. You understand why I so don't accept.
No, I don't understand why you would fear it.
Some of these lads are getting but the reality is there's genuine. It's not like I haven't researched and found these issues. And I'm like, hold on. And it's not like if Lee Rigby's killer hadn't done that, if we hadn't seen all this terrorism, it's not like I'm just picking fault. I'm looking. When Lee Rigby's killer done that, he gave a woman 55 verses. And I watched him in court, and I spoke to his brother, who's a convert as well, after the case. Because his argument...
I sense the instinct behind her objections. Nobody wants their holy book tied to harm. It's a protective reflex, especially in front of someone already suspicious of the text. But there might be a cost to constantly reimagining literal terms into figurative ones.
When Lee Rigby's killer done that, he gave a woman 55 verses. And I watched him in court, and I spoke to his brother, who's a convert as well, after the case. Because his argument, when he got told you're a betrayer, the judge said words to him like, you're betraying Islam, and he lost a head, because in his head, he's following that to the word. And what he's done is just because Lee Rigby went and caused mischief. So he sees himself as he's fighting a fight, and he's a soldier. That's how he viewed it. As the 2,000 Muslims that went to fight for Syria, that's how they viewed it. As all of these men are viewing it. So my point is, we need to stop this. And to stop it, we need to understand this. And as soon as I try and talk about this, or Muhammad, people go mad.
People do go mad, but one thing as well, when you're trying to stop something like that, you got to look at statistics on what are the common, not just within Islamic extremism, with terrorism overall, what are the most common
reasons for it? What do you mean?
Not reasons, what are the most common factors you see with these people? Most people are young men who are from vulnerable and deprived backgrounds. That does not mean.
The two men who drove the car into Glasgow Airport were doctors.
They were doctors.
Many of the people have been highly educated and highly wealthy.
Exactly, they have been. But most have come from these backgrounds. Then you've got to find out what is getting in.
She insists that extremism comes from deprivation, trauma, and emotional vulnerability. And I agree that radicalization often finds its foothold in pain. But I've also seen extremists who were doctors, engineers, middle class, educated, stable. Men who had every advantage and still chose violence. And that reminds me that poverty might open the door, but ideology decides who walks through it. Reducing extremism to deprivation alone feels like comforting half-truth, the kind that lets the harder questions slip away.
These people who are being deprived, they don't have resources to fix the problems that they're dealing with when they're in these vulnerable situations.
Okay. And this is where Tommy's steady and almost blunt logic does something powerful.
How come loads of non-Muslim, say like little young black youth who are from the most deprived backgrounds in the country, the most abused, the most targeted by police and all these things, how come they're not blowing anyone up?
That's the thing. It doesn't all lead to extremism. It will lead to different sorts of criminal activity
I'm saying it's this. That's what
you're saying. It's this.
I'm saying
it's.
No, I'm not saying it's this. All the men that do it say it's this. All the men that go and commit acts of terrorism say it's this. They say it's Mohammed. So I'm simply saying, okay, we have 22,000 British in Britain. We have 22,000 Muslims on a watch list, on a terror watch list. That's a small army. Yeah?
Without raising his voice, he exposes the contradiction. If the book comes from God, then the message cannot be guesswork. Throughout all of this, what struck me was how the students' arguments relied on emotion, intention, and personal meaning, while Tommy kept returning to text, context, tradition, and logic.
1, 2, 5, 6.
Being on a watch list doesn't mean you're guilty of being a terrorist.
No, it doesn't. But say the 3,000 watch list, the top 3,000 people on that watch list, the most at threat, the most risk. Yeah, the last 4 terrorist attacks weren't even from people in the top 3,000. They're from people who weren't even being watched outside of them.
Exactly, which shows that there's a fault in the way that we're dealing with it.
It shows there's too many.
It shows that there is a fault in how we're dealing with it currently. And I personally know people who are getting involved in dealing with terrorism and are helping the government. Obviously, I can't say who they are.
And even whenever. So I like to understand where we come from. Even in, say, like the Pew, what's his name, McDonald, who used to be the head of diversity, who done What Do British Muslims Really Think, the Channel 4 documentary. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
66% of British Muslims said they would not report on another Muslim who was getting involved with ISIS. It's a lot. 66%. There's 2 million Muslims in this country who would not report. That, imagine what that's. And in fact, it should be like it for yourself, because even in your.
And that is an issue, and that is something that we need working on. And it's similar to rape culture.
Then if you take verses from this book, it says that you cannot side with the non-Muslim over the Muslim. Yeah, there's certain verses in here which I try and make sense of all of it. Why won't they report on terrorism? Well, because then they're kafar.
But then it also kind of counteracts with where if you're helping one human, it's like you've helped the whole of humanity. That doesn't exclude anyone who's non-Muslim.
Yeah, but the next verse does, doesn't it? 533 does.
But then again, that comes back to interpretation, because that's talking about war and people who are corrupt.
His interpretation.
That's his interpretation. But that doesn't mean that's
one of the most recognised in the world. If it wasn't recognised, if that was a front.
I know nothing about him. That's the thing. I'm not picking this because of him. I'm picking this because.
Let me see. Why are you picking this?
Because I want to learn. I want to see what's going on.
This doesn't make the student a villain. She's young. She's protecting something sacred to her. But the ideas she leaned on simply couldn't hold their shape against the harder edges of history, scholarship, and common sense. And that contrast is what makes this debate so revealing and also so necessary. And maybe that's where our work begins, asking where reinterpretation should end and where honest engagement must begin. If this conversation stirred something in you, share your thoughts, subscribe, and pass this video on. The dialogue matters.